What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us at PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. I'm joined alongside Tim live in Green Bay. A few more leaves on the tree in this pick than probably right now, Tim, but it looks like it's going to be partly cloudy to clear today, a little chilly, but no snow in the forecast, right?
Yeah, it's been a pretty mild winter so far. Of course, as soon as I say that, I'm sure we'll get 6 feet of snow here in the near future. So, but yeah, I'm loving it right now. It's beautiful, beautiful morning to talk ball. How you doing, Clayton?
No, I'm doing great, man. I'll tell you, it was a fun day yesterday, watching football all day long, stress-free, enjoying working social media and just kind of putting some tweets out there, following along. Obviously, the Pat Mahomes story absolutely blew up. It's such a weird way to respond, especially from someone who's gotten so many calls throughout his young career to just all of a sudden try to pin it on, I still can't wrap my mind around. Actually, you know what? I didn't even plan on doing this. We're going off cuff right off the bat. People are going to go, we're not talking Packers. Just calm down for a second. I want you guys to hear what I seen here. Like I shared this on Twitter, right? This video. Let me get it pulled up here. I apologize if something inappropriate pops up. You never know what these knuckleheads are going to put up on my timeline. But so during his press conference, I want you guys to hear how he responded to this. It was really strange to me. It's like he's acknowledging it was a penalty, but doesn't think it should get called. Check this out. This is really weird. So make sure that you guys can hear this, Tim. I'm going to go ahead and share it. You got this, right? We'll go full screen. Let's just check it out real quick. Like I said, it's about a minute and a half long. Let's see what he had to say here.
I mean, not only for me.
Also, close your eyes and pretend it's Kermit. I mean, it's hard not to do.
Me, but just for football in general. I mean, just to take away greatness like that. I mean, for a guy like Travis to make a play like that, and who knows if we win. But as I know, as fans, you want to see the guys on the field decide the game, and that's why last week I didn't say anything about the flag that didn't get called on Marquez. And so, I mean,
Didn't say anything about the flag on Marquez. You also didn't say anything about us getting penalized for hitting you in bounds after you tried to stretch the sideline there, Hosscat. But anyway.
I mean, they're human, man. They make mistakes. But, I mean, it's every week we're talking about something, and all I can do is
we're spinning
go out there and give everything I have, and I'm proud of the guys because that's what we did, and it was a great football game that ended – another great football game that just ended like that. It's just tough to swallow.
Patrick, what do you – for lack of a better term, what made you boil over? Was it that itself, or was it
it's the call, man. Just in that moment, I mean, it's not even for myself or for me. It's just I know how much everybody puts into this game, and for it to happen on a flag change the outcome of a game. In that moment, I mean, I've played 7 years, never had offense all sides called. I mean, that's elementary school. We talk about. I mean, you point to the ref, do all that different type of stuff, and it doesn't get called. And if it does, they warn you, and there was no warning throughout the entire game. And then you wait till there's a minute left in the game to make a call like that. It's just tough, man. I mean, it's lost for words, man. It's tough because regardless if we win or lose, man, just for it to end with another game and we're talking about the refs, man, it's just not what we want for the NFL and for football.
Says the guy talking about the refs. Relax, Darlene. Just relax.
Bro,
you don't talk about your left tackle false starting on 95% of your snaps and never gets called. I just whatever. The guy complains about the refs and then says, "Well, we're talking about the refs." It's like
I wish I could zoom in further, but you can clearly see his foot.
Yeah,
listen, guys. To put this into context, the receiver on the very top of the screen. He is legal. Notice how his helmet is just behind the ball. You have to be not just clear of the line, but you've got to be clear of the ball. You've got to be completely behind the ball. The only person who's allowed to be in front of the ball, any part of him, is the center. So he is he's you can see he's a yard in front of where the other receiver is. So some people see the toe and they go, oh, well, it's just like 3 inches. No, he's a full yard.
What's funny is if you're just looking at this freeze frame, it should have been offsetting penalties, and they should have replayed the down because Von Miller's head's in the neutral zone too.
Yep, absolutely.
So you'd have more of a legit argument about that, saying, hey, it would have been offsetting. We would have replayed the down, and so either way, that Kelsey play is not gonna not going to stand. And, Mahomes is right about that. I mean, that was a heads-up play. First of all, you're not going to tell me that was scripted. That was not planned. The Travis Kelce cross-field, 20-yard lateral across the field was not. That was a in-the-moment heads-up play by Kelce. But, yeah, it was negated by a penalty. And it's like, excuse me if I don't shed any tears that Patrick Mahomes is slowly not becoming the NFL poster boy anymore. And he's not getting – all these calls. I thought originally, Clayton, he was upset about the last play of the game, the play after that.
Right. Yeah.
When he took a shot there after he threw a pass. I thought that's what he was crying about.
Funny is he was looking for a penalty there too. I mean, sooner or later, when all you do is you're constantly looking to try to get a call from a ref, like it's not going to work out every time. The part that bothers me is he's saying they're supposed to warn us. So let me make sure I understand this correctly. The game is on the line. The guy is lined up 1 yard off the line of scrimmage. They said it best. Let me just put it this way. Someone in my mentions said it best, said, oh, if that's the case and they're supposed to warn you, why not just let the player go down? Why not just go down and stand in the end zone? And then maybe they'll warn you that you were offside. It's like, this makes no sense. It just reeks of crybaby is what it reeks of. And the fact that he brings up that call from last week, it's like that significant other that's upset about something that happened, whatever, years ago, and they just keep bringing it up. It's like, bro, get over it. Get over it. Like,
you're too used to being kept in games by officials. I mean, this type of attitude does not help quell the rumors or the attitude among a lot of fans that Kansas City gets bailed out by the officials a lot. And bailed out might not even be the right term. How about being kept in ball games?
Yeah.
I've seen it with my own eyes plenty of times, questionable calls that extend a drive and, give Kansas City a new set of downs. And, to Mahomes' credit, he's a hell of a football player. And if you give that guy a new set of downs, he's probably going to move the football and they're probably going to put points on the board. And we didn't see that against Buffalo. And I just clearly think he was shocked. They were at Arrowhead. He's thinking, I'm at home. It's how do we not get that? It's like, and I think he just let the frustration, boil over. And I'm not going to, we're not going to get, I don't know. I'm not going to drag him too hard. I get it. We've all been in that situation. Emotions are high. You lose your cool a little bit. Right. To his credit, he went to the sidelines and had his tantrum. He didn't, start chucking his helmet on the field. And it was funny though. He walked past a number of officials, walked all the way to his bench, and then started getting real tough. Then it was hold me back, bro. Hold me back.
Hold me back.
Okay, Mahomie. Listen, we're not afraid of you, dude.
Yeah, no, it's a tough look because essentially what he's saying is like to what do you say, to rob it of greatness. It's like, bro, it was a penalty. Like just because someone makes a great play doesn't mean you should not throw the flag. And let's be honest about the MVS call. And that's the reason we're talking about it, gang, because he brings Green Bay's game right back into it. Like, well, look, we got cheated last week too. The hell you did. You got kicked. You got your teeth kicked in the entire game. And then at the very end, there was a couple controversial calls. You could tell that the MVS no call was because they didn't throw the flag or because they penalized Green Bay on the personal foul on the sideline. That was a makeup call. Makeup calls happen. Do I like them? No. I wish they would get 100% of the calls right. But to just conveniently leave that out of the argument, out of the comment, and then mention the other one, it cracks me up. It hurts.
And of course, none of the Kansas City DBs were early on any plays in that game and didn't get called, right? Like, don't act like it didn't go both ways, because it did.
Right.
There were a couple PIs that could have been called on Kansas City that weren't.
Oh, absolutely. Either. Yeah, absolutely. There is every game, and that's why you got to you've got to overcome that stuff. You do.
And I will always respect an officiating crew that will err on the side of, let's not throw the flag.
Right.
As opposed to let's throw it and have a 45-minute conversation about it and review it and stop play and all of, I like that. Yeah. If there's any doubt, don't throw it. You should be confident when you're throwing that flag. You should be like, oh, that's a penalty. Like, that's blatantly obvious. Yeah. If you got to think like, oh, I'm not, maybe you should just keep that flag in your belt loop or whatever they stick, in your pocket. Just hang on to it. But
yeah, the worst for me too is when they huddle up. Like, is that a flag? I don't know. Let's talk about it. What do you? If
then
you
why'd
have
you
to
throw
talk
it?
about it, yeah, if you have to talk about it, then it wasn't a flag.
If I'm a crew chief, I'm telling my guys, hey, you better be able to explain have confidence in every flag you throw. We shouldn't have to huddle up. And if we are, it's because you're coming over to tell me, hey, holding 56, blah, blah, blah. You should know. It shouldn't be a debate. And I think the biggest problem with the officiating is the fact that everyone knows that it all depends on the crew that you get, and that there is absolutely no consistency across the league when it comes to officiating, other than when they gang up on certain things and they want to set a tone and enforce things a certain way. If they do get rid of the tush push, you watch, that'll be pretty consistent across the league, officials calling that. But yeah, I think that's the big thing, is the consistency makes it tough. A good officiating crew is going to be irrelevant in a football game. Yeah. They're not even going to be a factor. They're just going to do their job, and that's it. I wish we saw more of that.
No doubt. Carly Ray in the chat said, "Oh man, I wish I wasn't working. I could have called in for this." Dakota in the chat says, that doesn't sound like the guy from State Farm commercials. Now, you sound a little raspier in that one for sure. Carly Ray says, I'd like to look back and see if Tony was consistently lined up off sides throughout the game. He may or may not have been, Carly. That's the issue I have too. Is like Dan Orlovsky came out, and I respect Dan Orlovsky. He's played quarterback in the National Football League. But he come out and was like, they're supposed to warn him. Dan, how are they going to warn him, bro? Like, he's a yard off the – hey,
I don't understand
in that situation, what do? You let the play, and then you go to him and go, hey, guys, by the way, you cheated. Don't do that again. That's not how it works.
Where does this logic come from that you're supposed to get a warning when you commit a penalty before it's called on you?
And the thing with that specific penalty, they say it's in the rule book. Someone screenshot it. It blew my mind. I'm like, y'all need to get that out of the rule book then.
There's a lot of crap in that rule book that needs to go. There's fine print in there that the league can give teams points if they want to. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of craziness in the rule book. But you're right. A blatant – like, that's what I just talked about. That would be an example. Like, holy crap, the side judge is looking. Wow, that guy's lined up in the neutral zone. Right. Like, that was obvious. Is there any debate that Kadarius Toney was lined up on the ball? I mean, come on.
Right.
It's right there.
Yep. The Chiefs call wasn't even a question, says Doug. No one's talking about the Falcons game. Not sure what happened in the Falcons game, but it's untelling. I mean, it's probably another gaffe there.
Maybe the side judge is supposed to run out on the field and tell Tony to take a step back, right? Is that what he's supposed to do instead of calling a penalty? Hey, by the way, you're lined up in the neutral zone.
Right.
Here's your warning.
Yeah. Carly Ray in the chat said, I was listening to the Ravens game on the radio and heard that Lamar kicked the ball out of the end zone, giving the other team a safety. I was so confused. Why did he kick it out rather than throwing? If the ball's on the ground, if it's a fumble, Carly, like in that situation, and maybe you didn't take into consideration it was a fumble. You just thought he had the ball and he punted it out of bounds. That wouldn't make sense. I agree. But if the ball gets bobbled or fumbled in the end zone, typically what they'll do is just kick it out of the back of the end zone, because you'd rather get a safety than the defense recover for a touchdown. That's most of the time that's what that is. I imagine that's what happened in that situation, although I didn't see that specific play in the Ravens game. There were so many good games on, man. I was bouncing back and forth. The Lions-Bears game was a fun one to watch, believe it or not. It really was. Let's see here. What else we got? Actually, yeah, let's just go back to the top of the chat so we don't get too confused here, and then we'll get caught up here. Dakota said, I hate that we won't have Christian this game, but I'm excited to see Stokes hopefully play a full game. Yeah, it's going to suck without Christian Watson, but you know what, Tim? I'm going to weave this in right now. Since he brought up Christian Watson, why don't we do this? We'll get back to the chat here in a second too. I've got all the PFF grades pulled up. Now we're going to bounce around a little bit since you brought up Christian Watson, Dakota. Listen, I want to see Christian out there too. And like Carly Ray said in the chat here, things really open up when Christian's on the field. There's no two ways about it. Like him being able to stretch the field, and now I think you'll see teams start to bracket him a little bit more when he is healthy, because you're seeing he's actually bringing those jump balls down now, right? Which they're thrown in a better place, to be honest. But you'll probably get a little bit more bracket coverage with him when he is healthy. But if you look at the PFF grades here, guys, this is the Packers wide receiver room right now. Dakota, I'm going to drop your chat down. Appreciate you hanging out in here with us, bub. So the leading receiver, according to PFF per grade, is actually Dontavian Wicks at 73.8. Romeo Dobbs is second at 70.9, and Jaden Reed is third at 70.2. Then you got Christian Watson at 69.1. Now, look, there's not a great difference there between those grades, right? There really isn't. What it tells you is all of these receivers are pretty much playing on about the same level. So we're going to miss Christian Watson, obviously stretching the field and everything. He had an absolutely awesome game there, the last couple games that he was healthy here. But when you look at the wide receiver room, there's very few situations where you're going to have 4 receivers on the field at one time. So your 3 best receivers, according to PFF in 2023, are going to be on the field. So I say that not to disagree with you. I completely agree with you. It's a whole different team when Christian Watson's on the field. But, these guys have played just as well as Christian has. So I don't think we'll take a huge step back without Christian. Let's let him get healthy. The thing that's going to hurt is that rotational aspect of the wide receiver room. You're going to see Malik Heath more now rather than, in the past it was, Christian, Jaden, and Dobby, and then Wicks would come in. Now you're going to see Heath take on that role of Wicks, and Wicks will be starting in that 11 personnel now. And hey, look, with every adversity comes an opportunity, right, of greater benefit. Then in this situation, what we get to do, Tim, is we get to see how Tay Wicks can step up as a true starter, man. You'll probably see him get, go from 25 to 30 snaps to probably to 40 or 50 snaps would be my guess.
Oh, absolutely. And, I got excited as soon as you said Malik Heath. Malik Heath is a dog. Malik Heath is that dude. And I'm excited to see him play a bigger role here. Clearly, he's going to get more snaps. And, yeah, I mean, we don't want to see Scoot on the bench. We want to see him on the field. And it does. It stinks. This hamstring issue, it stinks. But, unfortunately, the more you stress something that you're trying to heal up, the more setbacks you're going to have, and it's unfortunate, but we talked about it. If you're going to miss a game, this would be the game to miss. And I mean, this could be a Tay Wicks, Malik Heath coming out party here. This could really be a great performance. I'm just excited to see Malik Heath getting more reps. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Tay Wicks kind of, by default is going to move up here too. And certainly I would assume we're going to see not only more reps, but more targets for Tay Wicks and really Jaden Reed too in this one. So, I like our depth with the youth movement here at wide receiver, and just excited to see how this team responds here tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Omer in the chat says, just hope Christian isn't out for an extended period of time. Those hamstring issues are a nightmare. Yeah, typically when you have a hammy issue in season, Tim, it's going to carry over, bro. Like, it's just something that kind of hangs around the entire year. I wish it weren't the case, but I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your tailpipe saying, oh, no, it should heal up. Like, most of the time, those type of things linger, especially when you keep trying to bring that player back over and over and over and not let it fully heal. Although with hammies, it feels like it's fully healed until it's not. It's just one of those things for sure. Let's see here. Dakota in the chat said Wicks is definitely my guy. LOL. I love Tay Wicks. Again, I know I've said it over and over and over, but I'm going to continue to say it. When I heard Greg Cosell, I put Greg Cosell's tape breakdown above everyone else's, including former players, coaches, GMs, everyone. Greg Cosell has been breaking down tape since the 70s, and he's been with NFL Films the entire time. As you guys know, he's the nephew of the great Howard Cosell that did Monday Night Football and all the great interviews with Muhammad Ali, and just one of those. You talk about a polarizing figure, man. If you go ask if you've got a grandparent who is a sports fan, a football fan, say, do you remember Howard Cosell? They'll perk up and go, oh, I remember. It'll either be, let me tell you, Howard's the best to ever do it, or it'll be, I can't stand that guy. Nothing in between. And I love it. But
Howard Cosell. He had one of those voices, man. Legendary voice. You always knew it was him, for sure.
We need a sound drop of him. We need to add that in for sure. So what he said, though, Dakota, was Tay Wicks, this kid, he gets it. That's what he said. And he was talking about the little nuances of route running. And that's definitely what he is, what he's best at. There's no doubt about it. Doug in the chat. So those ratings are incredible for such a young wide receiver group. I completely agree. Just the consistency across the board is the big thing. Omer says Wicks is the highest rated route runner out of them all, according to PFF. You see it on tape too. Again, guys, I'm still looking for something that PFF says that doesn't show up on tape. I think their analysis is spot on, man. Again, I always like to use the disclaimer that, look, it's not everything. It's not the the end all amongst all analytics. But man, when I turn on the tape and I look at the PFF grade, it is very, very, very few times that I go, I disagree with that. Almost always I go, that seems pretty fair. That seems pretty spot on. So I just think it's great that we got a tool like that. Whether you like it or not, it's just another, like I said, another resource for sure. Margin Cron in the chat says, red zone wide receiver alerts, Malik Heath touchdown watch. I don't know, guys. Might want to pop him into your fantasy lineup if you got some injuries at wide receiver. Might be able to pull that one off.
I think he's going to eat in this game, and I'm really hoping we see Tay Wicks run some 9 routes. Let's see him stretch. We could probably stretch the field with Tay Wicks, with Scoot being out of the mix tonight. And which means, I don't know what that means. Do we see Malik Heath in the slot? Do we see, Malik Heath is that, 3rd and 5 guy running slants and crossers and, making those big boy grown man contested catches? This could be a lot of fun. And and don't forget about the other, guy who doesn't play like a rookie in Jaden Reed. So there's weapons. This will be a fun game to watch tonight, boys.
Yep, for sure. I've got people in here already asking, what do y'all think about the Jair Alexander slander? So I'm trying to stay clear of it.
We watched yesterday's show.
Yeah, yesterday we covered it extensively. And hey, look, normally I would comment on it if you bring it up in the chat. That's kind of what Good Morning Lambeau we want it to be. But we did. We hit on it pretty heavy yesterday. And to give you just kind of the quick recap, unless we know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's telling the truth. And it is, he's hurt and he can't play. That's the way I see it. I definitely don't want to sit here and pretend like some of the podcasters that think they're mind readers. That's not what we want to do here. Jeff in the chat says Wicks is going to end up the best of that group. He gets open consistently. Completely agree, bub. Ethan in the chat said thoughts on the Alexander slander. There it is. It's crazy that we trash our players because they're injuries. Packers fans need to be better. That's the thing too. I will just say that, Ethan. I forgot I marked your tweet or your message there. I wouldn't have put it up. That's the thing. Like, we've got kind of a bad track record. People talked absolute crap about David Bakhtiari when he got hurt again, and it's like there's no one that wants to be on the field more than Bach. Okay, dude, look at what he's put his knee through. He's been through like 5 surgeries now or something crazy.
Yeah. Let's be honest. He'd be retired if he didn't want to play football.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Like he's made plenty of money. He could sell off into the sunset. So I understand what you're saying, Ethan. I do. But I understand the whole side of like, I want everyone to speak what's on their mind as long as it's not hurting someone else. I'm all about free speech. But if you're asking me as a fan, or if I was a coach or an executive or whatever, would you rather Jair make these comments or not make them? I would rather him not make them, if I'm being 100% honest. But at the same time, it's not like he went out there and did just something crazy, So I know it's not a response or an opinion that's going to get a lot of interaction, like some of the other shows where they're trying to kind of spark that type of shock jock reaction. I know it's a boring response, a boring, opinion, but that's kind of how I see it, man. People should be free to express themselves as long as it's not hurting their team or their teammates. Now, as far as calling a shot and saying we're going to win out, and you're not on the field, I think it's kind of a bad look. But
I don't like that. I don't like that statement. If you are on the field and you are playing,
right?
And that's. That one definitely rubbed me the wrong way for sure. And, and Ja's a vet, you're veteran status now, man. You got to, but like I said yesterday, though, leadership comes in different forms too. So, I got to believe that Ja's heart is in the right place with a lot of this. And, he's just got his own way about him, we really love it when he's, playing successfully out there. It's just a little harder to stomach when you're not on the field,
Yeah. Definitely. For sure. All right, let's see here. Omer in the chat said, Reed should play a big part after a pretty quiet game last week. Love just needs to keep spreading it around to all of them. That's what makes our offense so tough to defend the run. the run should work tonight. Yeah, it just depends on what they do. Even the worst defenses, Omer, can stop the run if you commit to playing, one gap and actually loading the box like extremely heavy if your guys can tackle, right? I haven't looked at their tackle grade, but they're just a bad defense all the way around. The thing that kind of deters me from saying we should just run the ball and forget about everything else is from a game planning standpoint. When you look, they play middle field close, single high safety a large majority of the time. That means when you're single high safety, you've got an extra man in the box. You got an extra man in the run fit. So if they're playing single high safety and they're playing off coverage, you may see a lot of smokes, right? What I mean by smoke, if they're playing 7 yards off the receiver, the ball is snapped, that receiver's just going to take a step back and run a smoke route, catch it. Some people call it screen. It amazes me how screen gets thrown around so much with professional media members, because a screen is when you throw a pass with blockers out in front, right?
Yep.
It's just like if it's a short pass, we're now referring to it as a screen, and it makes me want to pull my hair out. But a smoke route, if they're playing soft on the edges, single high safety, you may see a few of those smokes. You may see in conjunction some wide receiver screens, some smoke screens where you've got like a 2x2 set and throw a quick smoke with a lead blocker, because what Jordan will do, and there's an RPO aspect of that too, if he's reading the slot corner, if the slot corner starts cheating inside, you catch him out of position where you can get a hat on a hat +1 on the outside, then you can fire that RPO out there.
Yep.
The corner stays at home. You might just stick with the inside zone run. That type of approach. But yeah, I think Reed will get the ball more. I think he'll be your jet sweep guy again. And I think there's probably going to be some shots down the sideline. Now, Omer, do I want them to establish running game? Absolutely. I would love for us to win the game running the ball 60 times and throwing it 3. That would be excellent for me. But if they commit to stopping the run and Dexter Lawrence is in the lineup, I kind of like that's the other thing too. What's our offensive line good at? They're good at pass blocking, right? So if you just force yourself to try to run the ball when they got a hog molly in the middle like Dexter Lawrence, and that's the weak spot of your offensive line, and they're putting an extra body in the box, and the best shots will be on the boundary deep, it's just a whole lot of negatives trending in the direction of you're kind of playing into what they want you to do. But again, I definitely don't want us to go out there and play conservative, man. Treat this like you've treated the last 3 games. Forget that they're one of the worst teams in the league. You got to come out with your hair on fire, because this could be a trap game, no doubt about it. So,
and you're right about the smoke route or the smoke pass. Mm-hmm. We've seen success with that in the past with, both Tay Adams and Randall Cobb, particularly on 3rd and short situations. When you do see that, you see a loaded box, you see a defense anticipating something up the middle or inside zone or something, and nope, you just fire that ball out, and you need 3 yards, it's going to get you 4. That's the type of play. So Matt LaFleur will be in his bag with that, for sure. And I agree, Clayton. If they're playing middle field closed, I'm looking for Rome out there on that boundary, Mr. Contested Catch.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to see what they do against this Giants D, and and what's his name? Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah,
he's kind of a wild card, man. That's a guy you've got to.
He can get hot.
Yeah, he can get hot, and but he's also one of those guys too. Kind of, I believe, in my heart of hearts, that just like Keyshawn got Isaiah Pacheco booted from a game. I think Thibodeau is one of those dudes too, that if you get in his head, he might make some foolish mistakes out there, get himself in trouble. So I hope they don't fear him. I hope they respect him as an opponent and go right at him. I think that's a guy you want to challenge and make him earn it. But certainly someone you got to account for on that kind of joke of a defense. He's someone you got to watch out for, because he will blow up a play. We've seen it.
He plays emotional. There's no two ways about that. Doug in the chat says, feed Malik for all the great blocking it does. Yeah, you gotta. I don't know. You've got to reward him, right? He's a heck of a blocker. He's fun to watch block. We got some breaking news, Tim. Breaking news video too, by the way, you guys. It looks like Brent in Indiana says Jones is out tonight per Tom Pelissero. So Aaron Jones will miss tonight. So you're going to be down 33. I like the call. If there's any little bit of hesitation, don't play him. AJ's been carrying the load pretty well. We'll see if Kenyon Drake. You guys keep me informed to see if Kenyon Drake is going to be elevated. That should have happened last night if it was going to happen, right, Tim? Am I thinking right? Does it need to happen 24 hours before?
To active roster? Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right, and then you can be activated up to like 90 minutes before the game or whatever. Or excuse me, we're elevated, then activated. Let's get
right. I think they have to be elevated 24 hours before. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Maybe you guys know. If you do, let us know there for sure. But that's going to be interesting, though. Again, AJ's been playing great here lately, though. So
he is, and Kenyon Drake might be the perfect little complement to that. You know, Kenyon Drake was a guy that was a baller early in his career. You know, he's been around the block a few times and got experience. And if you're looking at him to just kind of lighten the load on AJ Dillon here, we might see him contribute. You know.
Yeah. Derek K in the chat, spool up that diesel, baby. Diesel's gone, man. We were going live, and me and Tim looked at each other and like, man, I'm already out of coffee. We've been here talking for 10 minutes. So it is.
I swear I'm going to get a coffee pot down here right by my desk, Clayton. I don't have to run upstairs to refuel on that diesel.
That's how you do it, man. That is how you do it. Let's see here. Deadfish in the chat said Bo Melton went to Rutgers. Maybe he will step up for the hometown crowd. You know, I would normally just go, whatever. That's a real thing. Oh, You've seen it in the past. Who was it last year? Didn't somebody was it last year or the year before? A running back for us just went absolutely off in a situation where it was like the anniversary to the day that his father passed away. Wasn't that last year? Am I thinking right? Like those type of little backstories, I think the coaching staff kind of keeps their finger on the pulse there. They're not going to play someone that just got signed off the street, obviously, but someone like Bo Melton, been around for a while. That would be cool to see him activated, him come in there and get 3 or 4 catches and actually play a role in the game. That would be cool. I think that's a real thing, though. Some people would probably roll their eyes at that comment, but I used to, and I think it is something that's real now. Dakota in the chat says, I'd love to see Heath rip a ball out of the air for a touchdown. Me too, man. He's a dog. And guys, keep in mind that the reason that Heath dropped in the draft or whatever and wasn't taken higher, he was a highly recruited player in college. It's just he had some off-the-field issues. And it sounds like, if you guys remember in training camp, Matt LaFleur was all over him at training camp. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times people reported, the beat reporters report Matt LaFleur screaming at the top of his lungs at Malik Heath. And I think he sees the potential and knows you got to coach this guy hard and keep him in line, right? He obviously made some mistakes in the past. And I love the fact that the Packers are a team that will give people second chances, third chances. They never give a third chance, it don't feel like, but they definitely give second chances. And I respect that about them.
Malik Heath is the definition of just raw talent. He's just raw talent. It's got to be molded, and I think you've already seen that, right? Wouldn't we agree? He's progressed. Look at where he was in training camp versus the contributions he's made since then, and not being a liability, no off the field crap. That's one thing I love about Green Bay, man. Is that's usually that kind of stuff is always a minimum up here. These young guys and getting into trouble off the field, go home and play farming simulator like AJ Dillon, man. That's how you do it.
Who does it?
John Deere green on a hot summer night. He rode Billy Bob loves Charlene.
Didn't expect the conversation to steer toward the running backs, but here we are. So, Dakota, I'm going to come back to your Andy Reid comment here in a second, and Creed will get to your defensive comment too. Let's see here. Omer in the chat says, Matt talked about running back Drake possibly playing tonight. Remember, A.J. Dillon fighting a groin injury this week, so Taylor and Drake may see a bigger role. Absolutely. Carly Ray pointed out that was Emmanuel Wilson in the preseason, she thought. I think that's right. So maybe it was this preseason here. I just remember there being some kind of story there where he got a little bit bigger workload, and it was a night that meant something to him. Pretty cool stuff. Ben Doe says, big mistake if Kenyon is not active. And then, of course, Derek K goes back and says Heath and Wicks both with a touchdown today. Let's talk about the running backs for a second, Tim, since they kind of brung it up here. This is kind of steering in the direction that we wanted to. So when you look at our running back grades from this year, Emmanuel Wilson, obviously a very, very small sample size. He got hurt. He's the highest graded offensive running back there, 76.4. And then, of course, A.J. Dillon, if you removed or if you applied, I should say, some kind of minimum requirement as far as touches or carries, A.J. Dillon would be leading the pack at 74.2. He's the 18th highest graded running back, according to PFF, in the entire NFL. Aaron Jones, even when on the field, and I think we would all agree he's not been healthy all year, right? He's been playing banged up pretty much all year with the exception of the Chicago Bears game. He's actually grading out as the 51st of 59 running backs in the NFL at a 59.4. So if you're going to continue to get that type of quality play there in the 50s because he's so banged up, it just makes sense to stick with A.J. Dillon. Of course, Patrick Taylor, 55.2, not been great. Kenyon Drake, guys, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm excited to see what he could do in the passing game. He used to be a great player, but this isn't just this year, 44.4. The last couple years, he has been booty cheeks. So let's please don't get this, this, you can have hope. I'm not saying that, but just don't get a false expectation that this is Kenyon Drake of 3 or 4 years ago. Right. He has definitely not played good football here of lately, but it's obvious when they bring in a player like this, typically the reason they bring them in, it's real simple. It's because they had a very high draft grade on them and they keep all those people in a database. They've also got a scouting team that scouts every player throughout the season. So you keep track of grades, your own personal grades on these players throughout the season. We kind of use PFF as our makeshift staff for that. Right. So their grade would be much different. They may have an extremely high grade on Kenyon Drake, and we may see him come in and play a role. But just wanted to point out that's how the running back room looks as far as PFF this year. Tim, what do you think about those numbers there before we move on?
I think with Kenyon Drake, everything you just said is true. Like, he hasn't been top tier stellar as a running back in quite a while. But there's a part of me that also thinks sometimes a change of scenery late in your career can light a fire under a guy or reignite a guy. I mean, think about the situation he's walking into here. You got this team full of young talent on the rise right now, making a playoff push. I mean, I would agree. Keep the bar low. Don't keep your expectations tempered. But I'm not going to be surprised if we saw some really good performances out of him here, especially being the fact that we need him. So
right.
We'll see. I believe he's wearing 32, number 32, I think. Mm-hmm. So watch for 32 out there.
Heck yeah. All right, let's go back to the Chiefs call there. That's where the chat's steering, so we'll hit on that again. Dakota says, according to Rappaport, Andy Reid and Mahomes' claims against the refs will be reviewed. This should be fun to keep track of. When you go on record, typically they'll get fined if they bash the refs openly. And I know there's some chatter in here we're going to get to too. Actually, it's Carly Ray that brought it up. I think it's a great topic. You notice Matt LaFleur kind of, when he's asked about it, he says, yeah, I'm not going to comment on that because he knows he can get fined, right? It's important to remove any kind of doubt the fan bases may have that there's any kind of quote unquote fix in. That's the thing that they take very serious. They don't take it serious enough to pay the refs. And that's kind of what Carly hits on here in a second. Matter of fact, we'll just get to it right now. And again, Creed, we're going to hit on defense in a second, so I'll get to your comment, buddy. I apologize. Carly says, if the league wants people to not question the refs' integrity, they need to make them full-time and create a culture of excellent officiating. Biggest ways to amplify a message is to try to silence it. Yeah, I completely agree. And like y'all went on to say here, I think, let's see who it was here in the chat. Someone actually mentioned there's plenty of money too. Yeah, right here. Doug says NFL needs full-time officials, and all grass fields. Completely agree with that. Completely agree. And then Omer said, you're right, Carly. And anyone who says this team can't afford full-time officials, team being the league as well, is a fool. This league makes more cash than any other league. That's the part that I don't understand, Tim. You could put this to bed tomorrow and just show, hey, look, we're proving we're doing the best we can. There's always going to be the human element, the mistakes, right, that humans are going to make as an officiating crew. Nobody's denying that. I think NFL fans are pretty lenient when it comes to that aspect of the conversation. But to just sit here and just openly say, no, these guys are going to continue to be part-time employees because we don't want to pay them, you kind of get what you deserve,
Yeah. And the other end of the spectrum, too, with officiating is doesn't help as a league when you change your rules every year. You still don't know. You still can't tell us what a catch is. Terms like football move are thrown around a lot. We still don't know what that means. That's just something they threw in there, football move. And then we sit here and watch replay and debate what a football move is. I would assume it's any movement you do on a football field, but there's a lot left to interpretation here with the rules, which can trickle down to officiating. They got to get their act together. But Carly Ray is absolutely right, man. If you sitting there trying to silence dissent is it's just going to make it louder. It really is. And I get where the league's coming from is you don't want coaches and players bashing your officials, publicly like that. But you see it, you got to say it, right? But I don't know. I would agree with the sentiment that maybe you just don't give people stuff to complain about and you fix the issue with the officiating. Right. I mean, we saw it. We don't have to talk about the Fail Mary. We already saw that debacle with, the league's feeble attempt at replacement refs and, all of that nonsense. That cost us dearly. I heard people, I'll never forget that. They're like, oh, it's week one. Yeah, week one. Well, what happened to us that year? That game cost us dearly in that season. So,
right. Yeah, it's rough, man. It's rough to look back on that stuff. It just doesn't make sense when you get all that cash flow. Number one Packer fan says the Bears still suck. Oh, really? What do you say?
The Bears still suck.
He said, but they beat the Lions, LOL. The Vikings suck, and they prove it by only scoring 3 points and benching their backup quarterback. Thank God we're a Packers fan. It's wild out there in them NFL North streets. There's no doubt about it, man. It's ugly. You just never know. You never know what to expect with the NFL, Tim. Every single week, man, any given Sunday, anything can happen. That's the thing too, man, that I told you guys, the game that concerns me the most coming down the stretch, that last game of the season with the Bears, you get a division rival. I don't care how bad the team is. That's their Super Bowl, man. It's the last game they're going to play for the year, given they're probably going to miss the playoffs. I think there's like a 2% chance they make the playoffs. So if that's the case, that's kind of, you're leaving it all on the field right there, man. That coaching staff, if they still are intact, you have an opportunity to end the season on a high note and show, hey, we're moving in the right direction. That may save a job. That's going to save players' jobs. That's their Super Bowl. So I'm with you, man. It was tough watching all that unfold and has been all year. But, man, any given Sunday, that's why we love the NFL. There's no doubt about that. Let's switch over to the defense real quick. Creed says defense is built to stop the pass. Need to get an early lead like the last few games so the Giants' offense is forced to pass. Let our rush get home. Yeah, completely agree. That pass rush is the strength of this Packers defense. There's no two ways about that. I'm excited to see them kind of eat when it comes to playing the Giants tonight because the Giants' pass blocking has been horrendous. I think they lead the league in sacks that they've given up. So why don't we do this, Tim? Why don't we kind of look at our defensive front, PFF-wise, see who's played well. As you see here, Kenny Clark leads the way at 67.9. These are interior defensive linemen, okay? These are the big boys up front, the hog mollies. He is the 33rd highest graded player in the league. You guys know I've been as critical of Kenny as anyone. This is his overall defensive grade of 67.9. The reason it is so low is because of his run defense. He's been excellent at pass rushing. You can tell that's what this team is geared around. But you gotta tell the whole story. Nothing bothers me more than hearing people talk about Josh Myers being a great pass blocker, but not mention he's been booty cheeks against run blocking. That's why you'll always hear me talk first and foremost with the overall grade, whether it's on defense or offense, because both sides, both aspects of the game, both the run and the pass on offense and defense, it truly matters, right? We're not going to try to bend statistics, bend grades to fit our narrative because we've been on the, up here on the hill, ready to die on the hill for a specific player, coach, or whoever. But Kenny Clark, 67.9, 33rd highest graded defensive lineman in the league. The pleasant surprise to me has been Carl Brooks. He's graded out as the 48th best interior defensive line. To put that into perspective, a large majority of teams across the league, they play nickel the majority of the time, right? All of them play nickel the majority of the time because they're matching 11 personnel, which is the majority of sets that offenses are in across the league. So with that being said, if you were to take two defensive linemen on every starting defense, seeing that it's a nickel defense that's on the field the majority of the time, obviously 32 teams, 32 times 2 is 64. If you fall within that top 64, then you're considered quote-unquote starting caliber according to PFF and overall defensive grades. So when you look at it from that perspective, Carl Brooks is a legit starting defensive lineman in the NFL. So is Kenny. He's not played up to the level of that, huge cap hit that we've taken on with that big contract we gave him, right? In the passing game, absolutely, he's worth every dime. But you'd like to see someone who's making that kind of cap or that much cap is allocated to play a little bit better overall. Next is Devontae Wyatt, first round pick last year. You guys know I was big on that pick. He's a great pass rusher, one of the better pass rushing defensive linemen in the league. Overall grade, though, 62.8. He's been very inconsistent, especially in the run game. 51st of 126. Still, though, Tim, falls within that starting caliber. Kobe Wooden, same thing, 61st, right? Just inside that starting caliber, although he's at the bottom of the league as far as the top 60, the top 64. He grades out at a 60.4. And then TJ Slayton has dropped significantly since those first few weeks of the season. He's down to a 58.1, coming in 73rd, although we would all agree he's that nose tackle. He's the big guy you bring in base, put him in the middle and say, here, just getting two gaps, getting people's way, and let the backers make the play. The problem has been the backers haven't made the play this year. So that's your defensive front. Now let's go to the edge room. Rashawn Gary, man, what a great job extending him. We were screaming it all year long. As soon as we seen, yes, he's going to come back 100% from this knee injury, and the way he battled back to get back from the injury just really shows a lot about his heart. I know someone in the chat said he's going to have a lot of people in the stands tonight. So I guess his family, he's got a lot of family in the area of Jersey or, somewhere in the Northeast that could travel and see that game. But Rashawn Gary is grading out 83.8, 14th highest of all edge defenders. Same thing applies, guys. You're going to have two edges on the field the majority of the time in your nickel defense, right? So with those two edge defenders, he's coming in right there, borderline top 10 overall grade. If you looked in pass rush, I bet he's top 3, Tim. He's probably right there at the top. Preston Smith, 44th of 110 at 71.10 or 71.2 PFF grade. A legit starter, had a great bounce back year. We've talked about it. Mike Wall thinks this is, Mike Wall is not a big PFF guy. He'll be the first to tell you. He believes Preston Smith has probably been the most valuable player on the defense, at least in the last couple of games. That's kind of what I've heard him talk about. So with that being said, you've got two of the best edge rushers in the game, legit starters on edge. That's why you're stopping the pass so well, this bend but don't break and getting after the quarterback as much as they are. Now, when you approach it that way, you've got to sacrifice something. You're going to sacrifice in the run game. You could tell this defense is geared around, look, we're going to bend but not break. We're willing to give you the run. You're not going to hit explosive plays through the air on us. They shouldn't be hitting the explosive plays on the ground, but we're not fitting the run. They're not playing the run fit properly. They being the players, and we're missing tackles like crazy. To me, that's not on scheme. It could be on coaching. We've talked about that. Kingsley Enagbare comes in at 65.5, 57th of 110. Lucas Van Ness, the rookie, holding his own, Tim, 60.9. Anytime a rookie finishes in the 60s, you go, okay, that's a promising rookie year. We've seen Stokes do that. Of course, Stokes took a step back with the injury, hasn't been able to stay healthy since. But again, LVN 74th, and I feel like he's starting to ramp it up now. Brenton Cox Jr. coming in at 58.2. We know he's been inactive in several games this year, if not the majority of the games. But Tim, I can bounce back and forth between defensive line and edge. What do you want to hit on there? And I'll go back to the chat, man.
Let's talk about LVN. Our first round pick here. I agree, 60.9. We've seen him get more snaps as the season's progressed. Bright future there for sure. And I like that. I like the core we have there in the edge room with Rashawn, Preston, and then LVN. Enagbare is a monster as well. I just like to see him be a little more consistent, but it's tough when you're kind of plug and play as a player, hard to build consistency when you're not really consistently out there. But I think, looking at the future, I think someone else mentioned this before too, that, we could see a scenario where next year, I fully expect Preston Smith to be around, at least another season or two. And, maybe we do see kind of a changing of the guard slowly, where you may see a gradual point in time where LVN becomes the starter over there, and then Preston goes into more of a supporting role, which I think of, any veteran player could handle that with grace and maturity. It would be Preston Smith for sure. I don't see him crying about not getting the snaps he used to. He understands how this league works and why LVN was brought in here. That is the plan for the future at edge. So at a certain point, you're going to have to pepper that guy in more. So I feel real good about the edge room. And, Brenton Cox Jr. too is someone, I think is going to grow. It's just, like you said, you can't make the club in the tub, and you've got to be active. But I feel good about the edge room. I really do. And as far as the D line goes, that's a work in progress that, we all have to be aware of. There's a lot of promise there going forward, including guys like Chris Slayton and Jonathan Ford, who are just, they're learning. These guys are learning, and that can take time. I love TJ Slayton on the nose. I think that's a guy that's going to continue to improve the more ball that he plays, and there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, no doubt about it. In the chat here, Omer says 6 sacks tonight for Gary. You heard it first.
Stop playing with him! Stop playing with him!
Hey, I don't know about 6, but I think he might get 1 or 2. I just want everybody to stay healthy, play their role. What I would like to see more than Gary getting 6 sacks, Omer, is there to be a heavy LVN rotation like we've kind of seen, and LVN get a couple sacks and take that next step, right? That to me would be awesome. I would also like to see if they do decide to lean on the run, if it stays close early or even throughout the entire game. I'd love to see people like Devontae Wyatt and Carl Brooks and Kenny Clark kind of improve their run D game. That's something I would like to see happen.
I mean, we talked about that, how the Giants, despite having Saquon and all this, they haven't really been running the ball that great. And my first self-deprecating reaction was, well, they haven't played this Packers run defense yet. So let's hope that that's not what happens. I think that would be great, a chance for this Packers D to show that we can contain that run. And you're right, force them in passing situations. I think our secondary is tuned up for this game, and it'll be fun to see. I'm all for sacks, but I like pick sixes and I like turnovers. That's my style. So hopefully that's what happens. Be ball hawks against that Giants offense.
Definitely. If you guys would do me a favor real quick, hit that like button so other Packer fans can find this channel, find this content. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this Monday morning game day. Can't wait for Monday Night Football tonight. I know Jennifer agrees with you, Omer, about the big Gary game, obviously the homecoming game. Omer also says, okay, maybe only 4 or 5. I'm reaching, LOL. I'll take 4 or 5. You kidding me? Let's get ready to wrap this thing up. We're approaching the hour mark here. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Like I said, let's kind of go back through just the random comments in the chat, and then we'll end it. We'll get your final thoughts, Tim. Omer says, got to watch news for Drake and Stokes being activated for tonight for sure. If I see it, I'll pull the news in the pregame chat if it goes up on Twitter. Sounds good, buddy. And like Omer is talking about, we'll be back for a pregame show. Let's see, the game kicks off 7:20 Central. I'm Eastern, so I'm always trying to do the math in my head. The game kicks off 7:20 Central time, so we're going to go live at 6 p.m. Central, roughly an hour and 20 minutes before the game. We'll chat a little bit, get you guys the actives, inactives, all that good information, the latest information, maybe a weather update. It's raining right now in New York, but I think they're actually calling for it to move out and be in the 30s by game time. If you guys aren't familiar with MetLife, it's a pretty cool setup, man. Obviously, it's in Jersey, but it's in the shadows of the big city there. You see the Freedom Tower in the background. Here's a cool shot from a game previously, and you can kind of see the skyline there across the river. I'm trying to think of what – that's the Hudson, I believe, isn't it? Yeah, the Hudson. Mm-hmm. The Hudson's on the west bank of Manhattan, I think, and then you've got the East River, obviously, on the east side of Manhattan. So it's a pretty cool setting for sure. I'm excited to see some of the beat guys and stuff post pictures of the stadium as we get ready. But like I said, it's raining there this morning, supposed to clear out. So hopefully the weather will be fine for tonight. And if it ain't, one thing we learned, man, the cold weather there with Jordan last week, Tim, he's got the hands to handle it, bro. He's got the hands to handle the ball and be able to take care of it in that inclement weather. There's no doubt about that. Doug in the chat says one of the game announcers said they can get fined for negative comments on officiating. I don't think he was joking. No, he wasn't. That's why you hear them always. It's so many times people go, I can't believe these announcers are just toting the company line. Bro, they have to. That's their paycheck. Like if they go, it's go into your job tomorrow, and when the boss says, hey guys, here's what we're doing today, go, no, we're not doing that. See how that works out for you.
Yeah. Or even just going to work and start, spitting your political opinions or whatever. Like you don't get to do that when you're on the job. You're on the job. Doesn't work that way. free speech is free speech. Yeah. But yeah, when you're working, man, you're working.
Yeah. There are consequences involved in free speech. There's no two ways about that. Number one Packer fan said there's a reason Kenyon is a journeyman. I think that's a fair comment. If he was just a lights out player, he would have had more offers, right? There's no doubt. Karen in the chat says, I feel the Giants are a different team with Tommy, talking about Tommy DeVito, my man.
Who?
She said, I feel the Giants might take this, but good luck to the best team. DeVito definitely provides a spark, but much like Josh Dobbs, you remember 4 weeks ago, Josh Dobbs was the darling because nobody had much tape on him within that Minnesota offense. Now you're getting more tape. Now, I'm not suggesting this is a slam dunk win. You guys know I've talked about this is the epitome of a trap game. But I guarantee you some of the things that he accomplished in those first, 1 or 2 starts that really just kind of clicked, defenses have learned how to kind of take that away. And some people go, what do you mean by that? It may be a specific concept. It may be a strength of his game. He may throw the out route well, but not feel comfortable standing in the pocket to hammer the crosser over the middle, right? If that's the case, guess what the game plan will show? We're going to take away the out, right? And we're going to put pressure in his face on the crosser. Or we might overload one side on the out that he likes to open up and throw to, or the flat he likes to open up and throw to. Let's put hands in the throwing lanes on that side and force him to kind of play left-handed and go against what he's comfortable doing. Just little things like that. That's not a specific scouting report on DeVito, okay? That's not what that is. I'm just saying that's how defenses kind of game plan against other quarterbacks. Once you get a little bit of tape, I get a little bit of a game on tape, if that makes sense. So,
yeah.
Go ahead, Tim. You got something, bub?
Oh, no, I was just going to say with a young quarterback like that, just kind of coming out here, we got to blitz the hell out of him, man.
Oh, yeah.
We got to just pressure this guy all day, right? Pressure picks, coverage sacks.
And here's the thing, though, Tim. Like, their offensive line's so bad, you might be able to do that with a 4-man rush, bro. So imagine you're accomplishing the same thing, but playing with multiples in coverage, right? Playing shell coverage with a little bit of, maybe you're showing pre-snap shell and you're spinning to a cover 3 and get him to see a few ghosts out there. But you get Gary, if you can get Gary and Kenny Clark isolated in that 4-eye wide 9 that we talked about with Chris Jones, and then we seen it with Kenny and Gary last week. By 4-eye, I mean that's a technique that the defensive line plays. If you're new on the show, just slow down for a second and try to explain it. If you line up at nose, right over the center, that's 0 tech. Every offensive line position is an even number, okay? So if you're a defensive tackle lineup over the nose, that's 0. If you're over the guards, that's a 2. If you're over the tackles, that's a 4. Everything in between are odd numbers unless you're playing just a shade like an inside, like if you're just on the inside shoulder of the tackle, you wouldn't call that a 3 tech. You would call that a 4-eye. When you put a 4-eye over the tackle like that, and you've got a wide 9, a wide look like Gary and Preston play way out wide, what you're doing is you're forcing them to do either chip on that side with a tight end or a running back, or you've got a solo block for both of those guys. So you want to get your best defenders singled up. Now, you can't do that as freely if they're running the ball down your throat. So it starts with stopping the run. Then you can get creative with some of those pass rushes. But, yeah, I'm with you, Tim. If you feel comfortable blitzing, do it. Maybe you play a little 0 and say, you know what, Tommy, you're going to have to beat us. We're going to play 0-man, goose up top, nothing on the shelf, right? And we're just going to hit you right in the mouth. That might be a way to approach it too. We'll know a couple series in what the game plan is. That's what I love. That's why I love charting the first 2 series. It's because you can tell this is what the coaches were thinking. Sometimes you go, oh, boy, they got it wrong. And other times you go, this is magnificent, right? Yeah. So the other team gets paid too. There's no doubt about that. Derek in the chat says 65% of the 65% chance of not knowing what's going on.
65%. 65%. That's what
But there it is. I know what you wanted, know what you came for. Let's see here. Derek K says D-line's going to feast tonight. I completely agree. There's a good chance of that. And then Jennifer Wright said our rotation rocks. That's the key to this defense, and I know it ticks a lot of people off. You get a lot of people saying, why in the world is Gary, not playing more and this and that, man? They absolutely love to rotate this defensive front, man. Especially.
And I love seeing Rashawn moving sides more. We're not seeing him consistently on one side as much. I feel like he's playing on the left and the right, moving him around a little bit more, which is cool. And I'm sure Rashawn likes that too. I mean, I think he'd take a snap at corner if they let him. He wouldn't care. He just wants to be out there.
And the whole purpose with that too is, as offensive lineman, I've heard Brian Bulaga talk a bit about this. I've heard David Bakhtiari talk about it in the past. As an offensive lineman, you get used to facing a pass rusher, right? And it's why you see some of the best matchups are within the division. Like, you've seen Aiden Hutchinson absolutely dominated us early in the year, right? We come back and play on the second time. He couldn't sniff the quarterback because you pick up their tendencies, right? You know where they're going to line up, but also you know their moves. 1 second they'll bull rush. They'll throw a straight arm under the chin, right? The next second they'll do a punch, dip, and rip, or they'll punch you in the chest, dip outside, rip up, and you take the corner, the edge, right? You'll have a speed dip and rip, or they'll just do a little shake up top, speed rush outside, dip, rip, get the corner. You'll have the hump move like nobody's done it like Reggie. With Reggie, it was start outside, like shoot to their outside shoulder, and as soon as they go to pass set, you catch them in between steps and take your inside arm and just chuck them like a rag doll. There's a lot of different moves, and I say that because these offensive line, they get set and they face scary. They go, okay, bull rushed me last time. I got to look for the speed dip and rip outside. Okay, you reset. All right, you got that down. You got this down, right? Okay, now he's setting you up. He may hit you with 3 straight bull rushes, then go to the speed dip and rip. Now you're in your own head. He gets the advantage, takes the corner. You spend the entire game setting that up, or the entire quarter setting that up and understanding how they play. Then all of a sudden it's like, who's 91? Now you got to learn his tendencies. Now Rashawn's working on the left tackle. Being able to work both sides is absolutely huge, Tim. You hit the nail on the head there, man.
And you're right about Reggie with that hump move too. And we all talk about it with great reverence because, he's our dude. Really, he's the league's dude, one of the greatest ever to play defense in the NFL. But that hump move is not a strength move. It looks like it's a brute force. I'm just stronger. I'm gonna throw Chris Carter into the quarterback, but really you hit it on the head yourself right there. That is a technical move. I'm going to set this lineman up to just fall on his keister because he's off balance, or I've got him where I want him. That's a technical move. And there's not a lot of highlights of this, but I'm sure if we dug through enough tape, there's times that Reggie tried that move and it didn't work because he didn't get what he needed to happen. So it's deceiving, We think of we think of defensive linemen and rushers as these, it's all strength and speed and force. And it's like you cannot sleep on the technical aspect. It's really one of the reasons why our line struggled as much as it did, is because they weren't doing these technical things the right way. And it starts ground up, right? Your feet, then your hands. But yeah, Reggie was a master of that, to just get that lineman to just do what I want you to do. And as soon as you do it, as soon as you shift that weight to that side, you're going down, because I'm just going to use that against you. So in my opinion, it's just as much a technical skill move as it is a brute force kind of move.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys would hit that like button for us, help other Packer fans find this content, find this channel. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Karen in the chat said, we'll see who goes home crying to mama. Go Giants, Italian fire, never say never. We're the ones in here saying, look, this could be a trap game, but I love that Giants fans hop in here. You'll notice I'll put Giants in the title when I tweet stuff out. I want them in here. I want other fan bases to feel welcome to come in here and talk ball. So love the fire there, Karen. Good luck to you and your team. We hope you get boat race, but I'm sure you hope we get boat race too. So it is what it is, but thanks for swinging through. I'm not reading that wrong, right? That's a Giants fan in here, right, Tim?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I love it. That's how we feel about our team, right?
Absolutely.
I'm here for it. Be passionate about your squad. That's a mutual respect right there,
Definitely.
I love it.
Definitely. Derek K in the chat said, McDuffie on the field, you can breathe deeply. He will stop the run. He's been excellent at stopping the run. Man, we're out of time. I'm going to do it anyway real quick. Let's see. Carly Ray says we got to win the turnover differential. We absolutely do. Just because of what he just said. Who was it? Yeah, Derek K. I'm going to pull this up real quick, and then we're out of here. Linebackers. This will surprise you guys. Look at the highest graded linebacker this year, guys. Eric Wilson, 72.2. Devondre Campbell, 67.8. Quay Walker, 63.4. Christian Welch, 60.0. Isaiah McDuffie is actually a 58.0. Now, keep in mind, against the run, he's been better, right? You can see that on tape. If there's anything I've seen this year, Tim, where I go, I kind of disagree with this, PFF said, to me, Isaiah McDuffie has played great. this year when he's been on the field. Of course, they see something I didn't. I haven't watched every one of his snaps and graded it extensively, so they could be right and I could be wrong there. But Eric Wilson's another one, man. It's just nice to have some of that depth there. I know he's played limited snaps, but if we find ourselves in a spot where we get in a pinch and Eric Wilson has to go out there, I feel good about him being on the field. Just wanted to mention that since the listener viewer actually mentioned that just a second ago. Karen said, "You're so sweet." Hey, now, we like I said, we appreciate you guys being respectful coming in here, man. It's all about us following our best team. She said, "Thank you guys. Wish you all the best." Yeah, good luck tonight. If you go into the game, be safe. If not, have a good time watching it from home. But we're going to get out of here. Tim, parting thoughts, bud?
See you guys at 6 Central tonight for the pregame. We should have the actives and inactives probably during the stream. And also, I don't know if you got the QR code, but make sure you guys check out Packernet podcast. You know, we're part of this network, proud to be a part of the network. Big shout out to Ryan Schlip and, you know, the Packernet team. Make sure you guys give them a follow on social media if you're not doing that already. You use your scanner, phoner thing in your device, scan that code up there in the corner, take you right where you need to go for sure. And of course, hit that like button if you can. Support what we're doing here.
I've had many people ask me, I can't find your podcast. I've searched for Packers Total Access. It's because it's under Packernet Podcast because we're a part of the Packernet Podcast Network. Like he said, if you grab your significant other's phone and scan, or still your kid's smart device, whatever, scan that QR code in the upper right. That'll send you directly to all the links on all your favorite platforms to find Packernet Podcast. Ryan Slip's Packernet Podcast, Packernet After Dark, is excellent content. Jake Shavink with the It's Always Draft Season podcast is great. I know Jacob's been busy. He usually does the Packernet Fantasy podcast, had a lot of stuff kind of going on this year, so had to back off it a little bit, but I'm sure he'll get that crank back up sooner than later. So, yeah, appreciate you bringing that up, Tim, for sure. Proud to be a part of the Packernet podcast family. So, all right, let's get out of here. Omer ends it, says, Clayton, only chalk talk as good as Mike Walls. I respectfully disagree if you're saying mine's better than Mike Wallace. If you're saying it's on par, that's the greatest compliment I could ever receive. I love watching Mike break down tape, man. He's just no filter, straight to the point. Just get you all the information you need. Definitely there. So, all right, guys, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back tonight, like I said, 6 Central, 7 Eastern, to give you guys the Packers Total Access pregame show. We'll have the inactives. We'll continue to hit on the standings and playoff picture. I was going to hit on that today, but the chat absolutely dominated, controlling the conversation. That's what we wanted to see. Luckily, we had some information pulled up that just went hand in hand with those comments. So you guys, as always, you're steering the ship and doing a great job doing it. So want to give a special shout out. I believe somebody joined. I think it's already off. We had a new member join. I wanted to name drop them, but it's already gone. I can't find it on the list. So for those of you who are YouTube members, as of midnight last night, we are entering you into a drawing to win an autographed Robert Brooks jersey. We're going to give away during the post-game show tonight. So, yes, we did Good Morning Lambeau. We're going to be doing a pregame show an hour and a half before the game. Then we're going to be doing a post-game show after the game. So make sure if you guys are still up, swing through, say hi in the post-game video chat there. It's going to be a good time. Hopefully we're celebrating a dub, but again, can't overlook anybody in this league, that's for sure. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.